Look, I know when you have things like best, perfect, ultimate, any form of build in your title or thumbnail, it could be a little over exaggerated at times, but specifically with this one, you could use all those words and it still wouldn't even be able to describe just how strong this is. This is hands down, without a doubt, one of, if not the best build in the game. I think it is the best Hunter build in the game, and it honestly makes me want to main Hunter this season. It is genuinely so strong, and all of the gameplay you will see will be minus 50 power on expert difficulty. And with that, you can see just how unkillable you are, but also able to spam your abilities 24/7. There is a lot that goes into this build, and thanks to Edge of Fate with some major buffs, it is what makes it all possible, and I will explain it all in this video. Before we get into that though, as always, if you all do enjoy, consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff. I know that can also be annoying to hear, but subscribing, dropping a like, a comment really does go a long way, and I truly appreciate all the support. This video will be structured a little different because I'm kind of going all over the place instead of just dedicated sections, but I really think it is necessary to understand how everything flows into each other, and I think once you start seeing everything going, you will understand as well. But without further ado, let's jump into my take on the strongest Hunter build in the game. All right, jump right into it. First things first, honestly, I just want to mention weapons. Weapons do not matter with this build whatsoever. Just go on and get that out the way. You can run literally whatever you would like to. If I had to recommend anything, it would probably be just a weapon with something like attrition orbs, just so you can make extra orbs, just so you can feed into more abilities. Now, speaking of abilities, we need to take a look at our exotic class item because this is what's going to play into it a lot. First off, we're going to have Spirit of Inmost Light, and we're also going to have Spirit of Survivability. So the Spirit of Inmost Light, every single time you use an ability, you will get a stack of empowered ability, granting you increased ability regen. At 1, it is 400%, and at 2, it is 800%. However, that huge chunk of ability energy is only for your grenade and melee, with your class ability only getting 25% for the first and 50% for the next empowered ability. With that being said though, you can use 2 abilities and you're already getting this crazy class ability regen, and since you're quite literally going to be able to spam abilities all the time, there's never a time where you do not have ×2. Now, I do want to point out that if you use your grenade ability, that empowered ability is only going to work for your melee and class ability, but then if you use something like your melee, it will show ×2 empowered abilities, but you should theoretically only have ×1 for your grenade right now. But once again, since you can spam abilities literally all the time, you're basically going to be at ×2 24/7. Now, the other perk is Spirit of Survivability. So now whenever you use your grenade, is going to grant Woven Mail. Woven Mail is a 45% damage resistance buff, and it lasts for 10 seconds, and this happens every time you use a grenade. There's no internal cooldown. If you use your grenade, you immediately get this, so you can keep refreshing this over and over again and just have that permanent 45% on you at all times. There's a lot of crazy things that can go into that as well with this specific setup, so let's take a further look into that. All right, so for this, the grenade we're going to be running is actually the grapple for a couple different reasons. One, it has the lowest cooldown, so you can spam more. It can also play into fragments. It can apply unravel as well, and you can even do some secret tech where if you grapple the ground and immediately hit your grenade button again, you will save half of your energy, but it will also proc the Woven Mail. So if you ever need just instant Woven Mail, you can just double tap your grenade button on the ground, you save almost all your charge, and you will get your grenade back super quick. As you can see here, if we use another ability, you can then once again use it again, and you can basically just spam this all the time, granting infinite Woven Mail. Now, you can also still just use the grapple itself for doing damage. That's honestly how I use it most of the time, but I just wanted to put that little tech in there just in case you ever do need some Woven Mail if you're ever in a sticky situation. Now, the other really cool part about this is that we can run it with something like Gunpowder Gamble. So defeat targets with abilities, elemental debuff damage, or solar weapons to charge up an improvised solar explosive. Press your grenade button to throw a solar explosive light that can be shot in midair to cause an ignition. So if we come up here and get Gunpowder Gamble, and you can also just get stacks now with any weapon, it doesn't have to be a solar weapon. It's extremely easy to get something like Gunpowder Gamble with the buff that they did provide, and it also does less damage to you now, which is great. But the really cool part about this, as you see, if we wait for everything to kind of go away here so you can see it, and there's a lot of buffs on the screen, you can throw the Gunpowder Gamble, and it also procs your empowered abilities and Woven Mail. So it technically counts as a grenade, which can also play into some other stuff as well. But the main thing is it will play into your class item. So now you basically have double grenades that can play into Survivability and Inmost. And then if that still wasn't enough with Prismatic, you also have your Transcendence grenade as well. So if we go into pop Transcendence, you can see here that it will also proc your empowered abilities and Woven Mail, and since you are in Transcendent, you're going to be able to spam these even more, so you quite literally can keep this Woven Mail and these empowered abilities up all the time, just constantly granting your ability to reach in 24/7. Now, we're not even done with grenades there, because I do want to mention that you want to get your grenade set up as much as possible, not only for the cooldown for your grapple, but also the fact that it also increases damage. So since grapple is technically a grenade, it can scale off of grenade damage, even though obviously it kind of feels like a melee. So getting a bunch of grenade damage will scale grapple up damage, but on top of that, you can also scale your gunpowder gamble damage, because that also will work with grenade. If we throw our gunpowder gamble here, as you see, it is going to do a total of 1,382. And now that we've lowered our grenade stat some, as you see here, it's going to do a total of 1,250. The other one was just killing a scion. So yes, your gunpowder gamble will also scale off grenade damage, so it is extremely beneficial to actually build to your grenade stat. And on top of that, your prismatic grenade should also scale as well. But now the final thing about grenades, we're actually going to be taking a fragment called Facet of Mending. So whenever we get grenade final blows, it will cure you, and then if you're transcendent, it will grant an even stronger effect. So with everything we just did, gunpowder gamble, grapple melee, it's going to cure you. So you basically just fly into an area, get the woven mail, and then if you get a grapple melee kill, it will proc cure there. So if you took any damage, you're just going to heal back up. Again, things like your gunpowder gamble can also proc it, and then obviously your transcendent grenade will grant the times to cure. So just getting a ton of grenade kills is going to make you very, very tanky. But speaking of being very tanky, let's actually take a look at our next aspect now, and that is going to be Ascension. So press your air ability while airborne to consume your class ability energy and summon your arc staff, propelling yourself upward and create a burst of energy around you that amplifies allies and jolts targets. So I've been on the Ascension train ever since Final Shape came out. I'm finally glad it's getting the recognition it deserves, but it's so good. So now you can basically just pop this. It's going to jolt everything below you, which is one of the strongest elemental things in the game, but you also get amplified. So amplified is going to grant you another 15% increased damage, you sprint faster, and enemies shoot you less. So amplified is just straight up broken for survivability, because basically nothing will be able to shoot you, and even if it does, you're going to be able to have that 15% as well, which you can obviously also stack with your woven metal. And these two abilities are going to be on you permanently 24/7, and it quite literally makes you unkillable. Now, to play further into that, we are also going to be running threaded spikes. So since we can spam our melee a lot, our melee is pretty important. And what this is going to do is that you can basically just throw it, and you're going to apply Sever to a target, and that target is going to do 40% less damage. Since you can spam these literally all the time, that means every enemy is going to just basically doing 40% less damage to you. And it's also pretty good for Adler as well. As you see here, if we get the melee back, it will actually just be able to track literally everything. And remember, if it's not killing them, it is applying that 40% debuff. But as you see, you literally don't even have to do anything. You have gunpowder gamble now. Everything's going to do less damage to you, while also just taking less damage from everything. It literally makes you unkillable. And then to spam that melee ability even further, we are also going to be taking something like Gambler's Dodge. So now whenever you use your class ability, as you see here, you will just instantly refill your melee back, and they changed it now so you can do this literally anywhere on the map. You don't even have to be near an enemy, and you will still get all of the charge back if you do have your stat value high enough. So specifically with this setup, you want to be around 70. It could be a little under. I wouldn't go over it because it is a little overkill, but you can honestly be maybe around 50 because of all the empowered energy that you do get. You just won't get it immediately refilled, but as you see, you get it immediately refilled right there. If you have a little less, the empowered ability will obviously top it off, but if you want to just be able to spam it, I would definitely recommend get between 60 to 70, and you can literally just use it all the time, every time you use your class ability. And once again, if I was to use my class ability back here, not around enemies, I still get it back, which is just crazy. And then to further help out with getting our class ability, we're also going to be running the Fragment Facet of Hope. So while you have an elemental buff, your class ability is going to generate more quickly. Obviously, elemental buffs are things like Amplified and Woven Metal or anything of the sort. You're going to have this up literally all the time, granting you even more class ability energy, which again will grant you infinite melee energy. But that's pretty much the core part of the build. If we take a look at the other stuff, this is more so again just to help out survivability, kind of some utility. I like running Goldagon just because it is good damage, but if you want to run literally anything here, honestly, it'd be fine. But the reason your super can matter is that we're going to be taking Facet of Purpose. So every pick up an Overpower is going to grant us an elemental buff based on our super. So with Solar, you will get Restoration, but obviously kind of anything here will be good. Void Overshields, Frost Armor. I don't think you need the damage reduction as much anymore because of you get it from Amplify, and you are going to have Woven Metal, so Silk Strike is kind of pointless. But with Goldagon, you will get Restoration, so you'll be healing all the time because of some of our armor mods. Now, obviously, that's very good for survivability, but we can also take Faster Protection. So now when we're surrounded, we're going to get even more damage resistance, and when you're Transcendent, this applies even more. So you're going to be Transcendent literally all the time, so you're always going to have this extra damage resistance alongside just being able to spam abilities even more, because again, your Ascension doing arc, your grapple melee is doing dark, your melee is also doing dark, your gunpowder gamble is doing light. You have so many things ability wise that are going into just building the transcendence up. You can use it literally all the time. And then for the final fragment, it is just Facet of Dawn. So now whenever we get a power melee hit, it will give us radiant. If we're transcendent, it will also give nearby allies radiant. Once again, you're going to be transcendent quite a lot, so they can kind of be like a support build in a way, but having that transcendent on melee hit is great because not only can your threaded spike proc it, but you can also use your grapple melee to proc it as well. Yes, it does scale off of grenade damage, but it is also technically coded as a melee as well. So that means having 2 abilities here that you can spam all the time. You're also going to be radiant 24/7, which will give you more damage, and also barrier capabilities on weapons that don't have champion mods. It is so good. I cannot stress it enough. These fragments combine together and just everything is just ridiculously strong. But I do want to give some more recommendations if you want to swap something out. So looking at Facet of Mending, if you do take something like Facet of Blessing, you could totally swap these out. This is going to start your health generation whenever you get a melee kill. The only time I would ever really do this is that if you take a different super, because with Restoration, you're going to be constantly healing all the time anyway, so you don't really need Facet of Blessing. But if you're running something like, you know, Scythe of Squall for, you know, some more damage resistance, or Void Overshields with Deadfall, you could take something like Facet of Blessing, it would be good. But I typically just run Marksman all the time, so that's why I just keep this on, because the cure is extremely nice. Now, for your melee, if you don't want to run Threaded Spike, you can run other things as well. All of these honestly work really good. Combination Blow can obviously get you your Ascension back. Knife Tricks, I guess, decent. Withering Blaze is good for that darkness energy. And the Snare Bomb is also very strong for just constantly applying weaken, because when you're in Transcendent, you can spam it literally all the time. So if you need to just keep a boss permanently weakened, it's very good. But having Threaded Spike just play into that damage reduction even more, just to, again, sever everything. And then you're also just extremely tanky. You can go into -50 content like you've been seeing, and just straight up be unkillable. I mean, literally nothing can kill you. And this is just with the subclass. We haven't even started talking about armor mods, artifact perks, because all of that is also going to play a massive role into stuff as well. But now let's take a further look at our stats and then kind of jump straight into the artifact, because they kind of go hand in hand. So obviously, like I was already talking about, you want to scale your grenade up as much as possible. If you can get your 200 grenade, that is what I would highly recommend, because it's going to scale to your gunpowder, your grapple melee, and even your transcendence grenade. Now, next up for your melee, like we've already talked about as well, you want to have at least 60 to 70, so you can get your melee back pretty much instantly whenever you use your Gambless Dodge or your Ascension. So that is very good. But then for your class ability, you only need to actually get it to 80 this season to get it to 100, which I know sounds weird. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to mention that it kind of seems beneficial maybe to scale your class ability up a lot to get over 200. But in all honesty, the overshield that it does provide isn't really the greatest in my opinion, and you already have all the damage structure for everything else. The overshield just goes away extremely quick, so I would only try to get to 100. You definitely want to put all your stats in grenade if you can. For everything else, honestly, super is probably going to be your best bet, just so you can get more supers. Weapons don't really matter too much with this build, since you spam abilities, and you don't really need the health because you're going to be unkillable as it is. But now for artifact perks that will play into our stats, we do have Tightly Woven. So while Woven Melt is active, it gains increased class ability and grenade stats. So this is specifically why you only need 80. So with 80 class ability, this artifact perk is actually going to grant you an additional 20 while you have Woven Melt. So again, obviously you're going to have Woven Melt all the time because of Search Arachne. So that 80 right here, or 89, is essentially going to 109. So I'm at 100 class ability. I know the stats look kind of weird, but I technically am at 100 class ability because, again, you're going to have Woven Melt literally all the time, because you're going to just be able to spam your abilities and have that Woven Melt up 24/7. Now, simultaneously, that also grants 20 grenade energy as well. So since I'm at 136, that's going to go to 156. So I get even more grenade damage for everything that we've already talked about. For other artifact perks that can help out with this is things like Elemental Benevolence. So whenever you grant allies an elemental buff, it gives you class ability energy. So now whenever you use your Ascension near teammates, you're giving them Amplify, which is an elemental buff. So you get even more class ability regen, which is great. Now for other things, you do have stuff like Threaded Spike. So if you destroy a tangle with strain damage, it will cause a bigger explosion. You're going to be able to make tangles all the time because of your grapple melee, because of your normal melee. So now you could just make bigger explosions if you do use strain damage. So it might be beneficial to run something like a strain weapon. You could use the new pulse rifle just so you can always take advantage of this. But just remember that things like your normal melee can also blow tangles up to get that increased size. So as you see here, that's a normal tangle explosion. And then if you see here, if we use our Threaded Spike on it, that is a Threaded Blast tangle explosion. It causes massive damage and a huge area. But now, since we're on the topic of strand, we can also take Tangle Web. So whenever we create a tangle by defeating a strand debuff target, suspends nearby combatant. So obviously we're going to be able to debuff targets with Unravel, with Sever. So we kind of just have some suspension built in this kit as well, which is nice. Again, we can make tangles all the time. But the main artifact perk is just going to be Shield Crush. So while you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. While you are Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So obviously, Woven Mail with that grenade, Amplify with our class ability, we already have both parts of Shield Crush proc, which is granted us even more damage for our grapple melee, which is just already disgusting. We're going to get increased cooldown for it as well, and then with our threaded spike, it's going to do more damage as well, alongside the increased cooldown. But the cooldown doesn't matter too much with that, because again, you can just do that to get your threaded spike back. But the grenade cooldown is extremely nice. I mean, as you see here, look how fast it's cooling down with everything built into it. I can't stress enough just how strong Shield Crush is with this setup, and it is for sure the one artifact perk that you will always need to run. Even with Radiant, again, your melee and your grapple melee can get Radiant, so this is literally going to be up 24/7. And then for other little artifact perks, you can take something like Refreshing Threat, so you can get more energy to a least charge ability whenever you pick up an element to pick up that matches your super. You can also take Elemental Coalescence, so whenever you defeat a target, you can make an element to pick up that matches your super. So these are kind of just like no-brainers to take. And all honesty, if you wanted to take Cauterized Darkness here, you totally could, because with this one, basically whenever you apply a stasis or strain debuff to a target, which would be your Sever, which from your melee or even your Unravel, you're going to do increased solar damage. Now this is only for non-bosses, so it's not like crazy good, but in any just minus 50 activity, this is obviously very good to have, because this increases your gunpowder gamble damage, your super damage, and again, you can also just run a solar weapon and it will increase that damage as well. So I would definitely recommend taking this one too. And then for the final thing, it's just shoulder, just so you can keep this proc if you're playing it into a team activity. This is just literally going to give you times 2 resist on top of everything else that you already have, which is just strong. And speaking of champion mods, you don't really need too many, because your Ascension can apply Jolt, which will stun overloads. Your Radiant gives barrier capabilities to any weapon that doesn't have a champion mod, so you're already covering 2 champions just with this alone. Unstoppable is really the only thing, so I would definitely recommend just obviously taking an Unstoppable champion mod. But remember that your Transcendence Grenade will also be able to ignite enemies, which can also stun Unstoppables, which is good. So you kind of have it built into your kit, and since you can spam your Transcendence a lot, honestly, I can just say you have it built into your kit. But even with artifact perks like Tangle Web doing Suspend, it can also kind of proc it. So it's just not at the forefront, it kind of just in the background, but at the forefront you will have Jolt and Barrier 24/7, so you don't really have to stress about those. Just Unstoppable is the only one you really have to worry about. But now for our armor mods, this is what I'm running if you would like to copy them down, but I will give a more in-depth description here. So with this one, as you see, it is quite literally all super mods. Now I know things like Access to Assets and Hands-On do not double dip anymore into your grapple melee, but the reason it's decent is that with Access to Assets, obviously you're getting super energy and grenade kills. Your grapple melee can proc this, but at the same time your hands-on can also just proc for your normal melee, so you're going to be getting a lot of normal melee kills as well, so you can basically just get super energy for both of your abilities, which is great. And then also with Dynamo, now all of these class mods actually work with Ascension, so now you will reduce your super cooldown whenever you use your class ability in your targets, which you're already doing anyway, so you can jolt them, so now you just get extra super energy. So with all these, your Gunpowder Gamble can proc Access to Assets, your grapple melee can proc it, your normal melee can proc hands-on, and then your Dynamo or okay, your Ascension will give you extra super energy. You quite literally just have 3 different ways to get more, so you can spam it all the time. Now, if you want to take a Siphon mod, if you're really using your weapon a lot, you can, but in all honesty, you don't use your weapon a lot with this build. It's just ability spam 24/7. So, you could take that if you would like to, but I promise you, these are very, very good. It's kind of up to you. The only one that's really mandatory is Dynamo, because again, Ascension does work with this now. Now, next up for our arms, I like to take triple heavy-handed. Now, the reason for this is with this, every single time you're going to get a melee kill, it will make an orb. This could be for your grapple melee, because again, it is still technically coded as melee, so it can proc melee-based things. So your grapple melee can make orbs, and your normal melee can make orbs. Simultaneously, if you wanted to take triple firepower, you could too, because your grapple melee would still always make an orb, but your Gunpowder Gamble can make an orb, and I'm pretty sure your Transcendence Grenade would also make an orb too. You just tend to spam your normal melee a lot more, especially with things like Transcendence, so that's why I just take firepower, and again, you'll make orbs all the time. The other reason this is very good, because if you do go in for a grapple melee, you will get a kill on that target, immediately make an orb, which you will then pick up that can proc fast to purpose to grant you restoration. So not only did you just get Woven Mail again because you're going into the fight, you're now also going to have just permanent restoration because the orbs you're making are going to be on the target, which you're already going to be at anyway. And you can even pick them up with things like your class ability, which we'll get down here into in a second. But for the other stuff on your arms, not sure what my hunter is doing right here. It looks like he's like trying to hold the weapon. And let's just keep that part of the video. But you can take something like a loader if you would like to. You could even play into things like grenade fonts to get even more grenade damage. But I just like having these orbs up 24/7 because it, again, plays into everything that we just mentioned. But again, it's kind of also up to you what you would like to do here. Now, for your armor piece, always go through this mods to swap this out for content that you're going into. And then for my boots, I do like to take a Innervation, an Orbs Restoration, Absolution. So all of these are going to grant ability energy back whenever I pick an orb up. Innervation obviously grants grenade. Orbs grant something to my lowest cooldown ability. And then Absolution just gives it to everything. So once again, you're picking up orbs literally all the time. You're making them all the time. That's kind of why I was also talking about taking an attrition orbs weapon, because you can play into everything else as well. So with all these combined together, you literally get your abilities back even faster than what we were already showing. And then finally, for the class item, this is very, very good now because all of these will work with Ascension. So Bomber, so you can use your class ability to grant grenade energy. Obviously, your class ability is already granting a full melee charge. Well, now it can also grant some extra grenade charge. We can also take Powerful Attraction, so we can pick up all the orbs around us. This is the mod I was talking about. Whenever you use Ascension now, you're just going to scoop up all the orbs. If you don't pick them up, even though you are in melee range, you can use your Ascension. You will 100% pick them up, which again grants restoration, all of your ability energy, and you can just keep spamming things over and over again. And then for the final armor mod, it is just utility kickstart. So whenever you use your class ability, you will actually get some back, and this is based on armor charge. You're going to be at times the armor charge all the time because of triple heavy-handed. And again, you can literally just constantly use this 24/7 just to spam your class ability even more. But that is pretty much the build. As a quick recap, literally all you want to do is just constantly use your abilities all the time. Remember to throw your gunpowder gamble, use your transcendence all the time. Just kind of playing the game is what buffs all these abilities. You don't really have to think about it too much other than just, hey, I need to use my abilities over and over again. And that's kind of the beauty of it. It is so strong, you basically have to put zero effort into it. Everything just kind of plays for you. And the really cool part is that since this is on Prismatic, you can even do loadout swaps to something like Nighthawk if you want extra super damage. But even if you don't want to do that, you don't really have to. But obviously in a raid or anything of the sort, you can literally just swap over to Nighthawk and you will still get extremely good boss damage, and then swap back and you still have this crazy survivability build that can add clear literally everything, and you can pretty much just play the game stress-free because you don't have to worry about dying. Remember, if you ever do need to proc your exotic class item, you can use the grapple melee tech to grapple the ground to keep half your grenade energy, and again, it will proc everything that we've already went over in the build. This build is genuinely a ton of fun, extremely easy to use, 100% the best hunter build in the game. Honestly, cannot think of something that is better than this, and it can pretty much cover everything like I was kind of talking about with Nighthawk. If you don't even want to run Golden Gun, you can still run stuff like Tether. It pretty much has every best thing from every subclass, and it just synergizes together so well. I think exotic class item just kind of wraps it all up into this crazy package, and it is 100% a build I would recommend to give a shot, and you definitely want to farm for this class item. And now for the final part of the video, this is the transmog I'm running. I went for a very prismatic Root of Nightmares theme here. I took advantage of the exotic class item and the ornament that kind of everyone unlocked if you hit the max rank for one of the seasons. So I think it looks pretty cool. Honestly, I think this may be one of the best hunters I've ever made. I know it's kind of taking advantage of 3 of the same armor mods, but also kind of using the whole shader. So it's nothing like crazy unique, but everything kind of just flows together so well. And if you want to make your hunter look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But all right, that is going to do it all for me. Let me know what y'all think about this build in the comments below. I know the popularity of this build has kind of already risen to extreme heights, but I really wanted to give my opinion on it because it was one of the most builds I was excited for. Like I said earlier in the video, I have been an Ascension lover ever since Final Shape came out. I feel like when Final Shape came out, most people kind of just wrote it off as being a bad aspect, but even with that, I still adored how good it was. And obviously not everyone wrote it off. I'm sure more people saw the potential in it, but now the fact that it works with these armor mods, now the fact that Amplify gives you these crazy buffs, it is legitimately so strong, and you could just spam it all the time with this build, and it is just so good. Sometimes builds that are extremely strong can be very boring to play, aka looking at you, Well of Radiance, but with this one, it is honestly one of the most fun builds in the game, while also simultaneously just being ridiculously good. But anyway, though, that's enough glazing for me with this build. If you haven't tried it out, definitely head out there, farm the class item up, give it a shot. You will 100% see the true potential in it. It is just so much fun, so good. And here I go glazing again, so we're gonna end the video here. But if you do try to get this build together, I wish you the best of luck on farming for everything. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.